person who's been sending you all these lovely emails over the past couple weeks. My name is Jay Stefanelli. I'm the Associate Director of Student Services for Enrollment Management, School Communication and Information here at Rutgers University. It's pretty impressively long title, right? We're just going to hide the salary to go with such a long title. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we go any further. I know we have all of you here in the room. We also have a group of students who are participating online. The person who will be kind of the conduit for the online group of students is Elizabeth Maptiash. And she will be raising her hand and basically introducing whoever has a question online and asking it to the group. That's kind of how we're going to go. So why don't we go ahead and get started. Once again, my name is Jay Stefanelli. I think I'm uniquely qualified to talk to you guys about these two programs and a little bit about school communication and information, just because I've been at the university for about 3.5 years now as an employee, but maybe more importantly, I have both my master's and my undergraduate degree from Rutgers. I was in this building as a student before this room even existed. So to be here during this time is really exciting as an employee. Hopefully you guys feel the same, but I feel a little bit about that. I have an MBA from the business school, so I took classes right here before that building was ever even thought of. And maybe even more important than my credentials with regard to my studies and my academics is the fact that I've been working with graduate students for quite some time. So it's a world I'm very comfortable with and I know a lot about. Okay, now let's get to the really important stuff, right? More important than anything else is that, as you guys can see, I'm a football season ticket holder. Have been for many years. Okay, I have little red R's that flow through my blood. Okay, and I am a self-proclaimed ambassador of Rutgers. You guys are probably thinking, what does that even mean? What does it mean? For me, this is what it means. Maybe you guys can't see that so well, but I love to travel. I love to represent Rutgers wherever I go. But what I really love is being here and being on this campus. I think this is a wonderful campus. I think there's a wonderful community that exists here, and hopefully by the end of this presentation, not only will you guys see the academic value of being here for our master's degree programs, but hopefully also you'll see that there's a community here that you want to partake in at the graduate level, because I certainly do. All right. This is kind of the game plan for tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the School of Communication and Information very briefly. Then we're going to get to the meat of this. We're going to do a program review. We'll talk specifically about the MCIS program and the MI program, Master of Communication and Information Studies, and Master of Information. Master of Information, awesome title, right? Then we'll talk about the application and admissions process. Right, you guys are probably all wondering, how do I actually get into these programs? And then finally, we'll talk about student services, tuition and fees, and then we'll do a student panel question and answer. Does that sound good, guys? All right, yes. All right, excellent. Get the thumbs up, nodding of the head. Fantastic. So this is the School of Communication and Information in a nutshell. We have 3 different departments, COM, JMS, and LIS. Within those 3 different departments, we have 3 bachelor's degrees, kind of all corresponding to the different departments. How many of you here are undergraduates here at Rutgers? By show of hands. Okay, so a few more. Just not most of you have. And how many of you are undergrads in some of our programs at Sky? Okay, all right, excellent. I mean, the good news is that you don't have to be. That's the great thing about grad school. It's an opportunity to reset or continue on a path that you're on. In addition, we have 2 minors. We have 2 master's degree programs, a PhD program, and a bunch of non-degree students that kind of take a lot of master's classes after they graduate. All right, so the great thing about the School of Communication and Information is we have 1 in 5 of our students is a master's degree student, so there's an awful lot of opportunity for you to engage in community. I'm going to say that word a lot, community, because I think it's important at the graduate level, just as it is at the undergraduate level. So the School of Communication and Information, what is our mission statement? I'm not going to ask you guys to read this, but I am going to highlight something that I think is really important. And that is, we are a community of, we are committed to educating individuals who make lasting contributions to the interdisciplinary study and professional practice of communication, journalism and media studies, and library information science. I think that's important because I want you guys to know what it is that we're trying to do here. And ultimately, you will be part of that. Okay. So you've heard enough out of me. I'm going to introduce our first speaker. I'm going to introduce Dr. Jen Gibbs, who is the MCIS Director. She's going to tell you a little bit more about the program. And without further ado, I welcome Jen.
All right, hi everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. It's great to see so many people out tonight. So I am the director of the MCIS program, Masters of Communication and Information Studies. I'm also a faculty member in the communication department. I'm an associate professor. I've been at Rutgers for 11 years. This is, I think, my 12th year actually. And I teach a lot in the master's program as well as in the undergraduate and PhD programs. My research has a lot to do with organizational communication and new technologies. I study collaboration in global virtual teams, how people collaborate and communicate across time and space and cultural differences to accomplish work tasks. And I also study the strategic use of new technologies. I've done some research on online dating and strategic self-presentation online. And I've also studied enterprise social media and how social media can be used in organizations to help share knowledge and facilitate relationship building. So those are some of the things you can do in this program, but there's a lot more. So I thought I would give you an overview of the program, the requirements, the tracks that we have, as well as some of the opportunities that would be available to you as an MCIS student. So Jay presented to you the 3 different departments of the school. The MCIS program mainly covers the communication and journalism and media studies departments. Those are the faculty that teach our classes. So it's a 36 credit program. Okay, so it's a 36 credit program. If you go full time, it can take about 2 years. You might be able to do it in a year and a half. You also have the possibility of going part-time, and you have a lot of flexibility to complete the program and work as well, which a lot of students do. In terms of the tracks and the specializations that we offer, we have 3 main tracks. One is in strategic organizational communication. The students in that track have interests in public relations, marketing, corporate communications, and other types of strategic communications. They work in areas such as corporate social responsibility, whether for corporate or nonprofit contexts. They may work for corporations. They may do various types of both external and internal communications. There's also a growing interest in social media. There's a lot of positions now for social media analysts, and our students are interested in that as well. So that's one of the tracks. We also have a track in health communication, and the students in that track have interests in designing persuasive health campaigns. If you're interested in changing health-related behavior, you may go on to work in a medical setting, with medical practitioners, or in a research setting, designing corporate or other health communication campaigns. And you may work in kind of health advocacy fields. So that's the health communication track. And then the third track is digital media. And the digital media track is focused on a lot of things related to media industries. It was initially designed for journalists and other professionals who are interested in kind of retooling their skill set for the digital age now that a lot of the media industry is going online and becoming digital. So you may go on to work in the media industries in digital media production or digital media marketing or other types of media related fields. And you don't have to be on a track. The tracks are there if you want to focus in one of those areas. But a lot of our students also do the general track, where you're really encouraged to customize your program of study. So in that case, you would take whatever courses best fit with your professional interests. We have a lot of students who do like digital media marketing, and they combine the strategic organizational communication track with the digital media track, or they're interested in health and organizations, so they combine those tracks. So there's really a lot of flexibility there. In terms of the requirements, you have 15 15 credits of core courses, and those are some things related to research methods, organizational communication, mediated communication, communication in society. And there's also an e-portfolio course, which is kind of a professionally oriented online course where you design a portfolio to help bridge the knowledge that you gained in the program with the job market, and it helps you think through your career path. Or you can do a capstone, which is a more of a thesis option if you're interested in going on for a PhD or more of a research-intensive career. There's also 15 credits of electives, and you can take courses across all of these tracks or focus on one. And then in addition to that, we have 6 credits of experiential learning, and that's really meant to help you get outside of the classroom and apply your knowledge through internships or doing a research practicum or doing a teaching internship and getting experience in research or in the classroom. So that's kind of the way the program is structured. In terms of the experiential learning, which I just mentioned, here's a little more detail on that. A lot of our students do internships to get experience in particular practical fields. If there's a specific skill set you want to gain, like designing a communications plan or designing a social media strategy, internships are a great way of building your practical experience. Even if you're already working, you can do internships to kind of supplement your professional experience and gain new skill sets that you want to have. The teaching internships are kind of like working as a teaching assistant where you assist a faculty member in the classroom. And the research practicum involves working on research with a faculty member and getting mentored in the research process. In addition to those, we also offer some very prestigious fellowships with Johnson & Johnson. If you're able to get one of those, they're a really fabulous opportunity to get the program fully funded. So we have 1-year and 2-year fellowships available. For example, if you're able to get a 2-year fellowship, it covers the full length of the program, and you get full tuition remission as well as a stipend of about $25,000 a year. So plus, you're working 20 hours a week with high-level managers at J&J and getting really great professional experience as well. So the fellowships are a great opportunity, but even if you don't get a fellowship, we have a lot of close ties with Johnson & Johnson and other companies and nonprofits, and it's very easy to set up internships and get established connections with J&J as well as other companies. All right, so I'll tell you about a few of the other opportunities that we offer in the program. One of them is the dual degree program. So how many of you are communication majors now? Okay, there's a few. So if are any of you guys juniors? Are you seniors? Okay, so if you're a senior, it might be too late, but if you're in your junior year, you can apply for the dual degree program. It's a 5-year bachelor's and master's degree, and you would apply in the spring of your junior year and start in the fall of your senior year. You can also possibly start in the spring of your senior year. And then you overlap, and you're able to take credits of master's level courses and apply them to your undergraduate and your graduate level requirements. And you're taking them at undergraduate tuition rates, so you're saving money and saving time. So that's a great option, but even if you don't do the dual degree program, you're still welcome to apply for the regular MCIS program. It just takes an extra year. So that's one opportunity. We also have the research associate track, and that's for students who might be interested in going on for a PhD. So if you're more academically inclined, or even if you're considering a research-intensive career, you can apply for the research associate track. It gives you a more structured research-intensive experience where you're required to do the capstone thesis as well as the research practicum and the teaching internship. And it prepares you really well for going on to PhD programs. We do place a lot of our MCIS students in either in our PhD program or in other top-tier communication and media studies programs. So that's great. We also have a study abroad in England that happens in May and June for 3 weeks each year, and it counts as a 3-credit elective. So if you want the opportunity to study abroad, this is a great way to do it. You stay in this building that looks like a castle, kind of like Harry Potter, at Roxton College, and it's really cool. And you take 3 credits of international corporate communications related coursework, and you also get to go on field trips to London and Stratford and other cool places. And that's run through Fairleigh Dickinson, but MCIS students are eligible. And then finally, we have the MCIS GSA, the Graduate Student Association, and I know we have some current graduate students here tonight, and hopefully they'll share their experiences with you as well. But the GSA is a very vibrant student association. They organize a lot of social events as well as networking events and other intellectual type events. It's a great way to network and get involved beyond the classroom. A lot of our students are working full time. They may have a lot of contacts and help you in your own networking. Plus, it's fun to make friendships and relationships with people. Okay, so finally, I'll tell you a little bit about the students in the program and what kinds of interests they have, what career goals they have. So most of our students are a mix of recent college graduates. I would say, we have some dual degree students who are undergrads who go straight on to the master's program. Probably the largest number of students have been out in the work world for a couple of years, maybe have some work experience, and then they come back to grad school. But we also have a pretty sizable proportion who are older. They're mid-career professionals, and they decided to come back to graduate school because they want to change directions or gain some new knowledge and skills to help their career. Most of our students work either full-time or part-time, so the program is designed to allow for that. All of the courses are offered in the evenings from like 6 to 9 p.m. We also offer about half of our courses online. I didn't say this earlier, but our digital media track specifically is offered online. So you're able to do the whole program online if you emphasize in digital media. A lot of the students kind of take a mix of online and classroom-based courses. And there is flexibility to go part-time if you're working as well. Most of our graduates go on to industry careers in public relations, corporate communications, marketing, social media, digital media, communications and media-related fields, healthcare as well. These are just some of the types of jobs that people get. And a subset of our graduates go on to PhD programs as well. So if you do the research associate track, you have that option. And then finally, we have spring and fall admissions. So you can see the average cohort size. Our deadline for spring was technically November 1st, but if any of you are ready to apply and can get your applications in, we will make an exception and we'll accept them until December 1st or kind of early December. So that will mean that you have to take the GRE and write a personal statement, get 3 letters of recommendation, and supply your official transcripts. So does anyone have any questions? I think that's all I have for this program. Yeah.
If you're trying to do, like, as an undergrad, do some courses in the spring, do you have to take the GRE, so you'll have to take it within the next few weeks, right?
If you want to apply for spring,
Yes.
you would have to take the GRE. Yeah, if you haven't taken it yet, then you might want to wait and apply for next fall. Any other questions?
Can this lead to a journalism career?
It can, yeah. So we have some courses in digital journalism. It's really focused on kind of the digital part of that, but so there's not a lot of courses in specific journalism topics, but we do have digital journalism, digital media production. It's kind of more about the media industry more broadly rather than kind of the trade of journalism. But we do have a lot of students, we have students who have backgrounds in journalism, and we have faculty who worked as journalists and they have that expertise, but it may not be the same as kind of a pure journalism. So, but it's, yeah. Anyone else? All right, well, if you think of more questions, we'll have time for Q&A at the end.
Absolutely. All right, thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Dr. Kerr. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Joyce Valenza, who's going to tell you a lot more about the Master of Information, what it is, and hopefully she'll give you a little bit of insight into her journey into the information
Okay, well, welcome. I have been a librarian for 40 years. I've been a librarian in almost every possible setting, in special libraries, in museum libraries, in public libraries, and in school libraries. And I have loved every minute, well, nearly every minute of those jobs. But I think that our field, our information field, how many of you came here because you're interested in a Master of Information degree? Okay, great. I think that, and let me hear, if you could just shout out what your undergraduate degree is in. ITI, give me some, oh, so there's a few in ITI, what else do we have? Criminal justice? History, anything else? History. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Sociology, okay. Because what I believe is that every one of these degrees will bring an element to whatever job that you get in information, and you don't waste any of that stuff. I was an English major with a focus on literature and writing, and I have used everything in my undergraduate degree in every single one of my information professional jobs. So that stuff is going to inform your work after your graduate degree. I think that information professionals have a role in nearly every industry, in every institution, in every educational institution, in every association. And so you will see that the variety of jobs is really great. The reason I have all these papers here is not because I'm going to read to you, but it's because before I left my office, I just printed out the latest group of jobs that were on I Need a Library Job, and I wanted to give you a flavor of what types of jobs and the large variety of jobs you'll find. All right, so this is our mission, and again, I don't think I want to read the mission, but I think what's really interesting is the intersection of the areas that form the Master of Information degree. It's people-focused, it's information technology intensive, it's data-driven, and our degree is a professional degree, it's career-oriented. We are at the intersection of people, information, and technology, and I want to wave to our online students as well. So welcome to you guys as well. And what this data, information, and knowledge is a very traditional model that has come out of the information profession. First you have data, you turn data into information, and you turn information into knowledge. And so that's part of what we're about. We serve all sorts of communities. And these are just some of the, I don't want to read these slides, but we know that if you choose Rutgers as your Master of Information program, you're choosing a school that has a 250-year history, a school that's in the Big Ten, and specifically with our Master of Information program, we are rated number 2 for school libraries and number 6 nationally in information science programs. So this is a well-respected program, and you will have street credit in our degree. Now, I don't know if we have the slide with the big model?
It's down.
It's down below?
Where Lily is.
Okay. All right. So we recently restructured our program, which allows you some choice and an opportunity to take a concentration or specialize in one area or as a generalist across the Master of Information program. And so I'm going to invite Dr. Pavlovsky up here to help me out, but I want you to know that the 4 areas are library and information science, which is the one that's closest to my heart, and I can gush about that all day and all night. If you choose to pursue this in the LIS concentration, what you're preparing for is a career in academic libraries, in special libraries, in special needs business, museum, institutions, corporate, or in public libraries. You can be a children's and youth services librarian, you can be an adult librarian in the public library, you can be a young adult librarian in the public library, you can be behind the scenes in technical services in a large public library, or you could be a school librarian, you could be an educator, a teacher librarian who plans inquiry instruction, and leads the school in technology use. So, I love this work. And then we have the data science concentration, and that is our newest one. That's one of our newest ones, I'm sorry. Do we have a slide about big data? No?
Right after this.
Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, so it was Forbes magazine, it was Harvard Business Review, that called the data scientist the sexiest job of the 21st century. There is projected to be a huge need for people in data science, and there are industries that are looking to hire data scientists, and they're not yet available. And so this is a degree that you might consider. And it might be interesting to note that President Obama hired a chief data scientist for the country. And so it's just a sign of the interest in that area of our degree. I wanted to tell you that despite evidence perhaps to the contrary, I see libraries as growing. Jobs are coming to my desk every day. Let me just read you. And this is actually across the library and information science. But just before I left my office this afternoon, these are just some of the jobs that I saw. Knowledge technology analyst, user experience manager, social media manager, grant writer, lead UI designer, master data scientist, exhibit curator, graphic and digital media designer, digital project manager, head of music metadata services, knowledge management specialist, music archivist, taxonomy specialist, community health information researcher. I've got 17 pages of these, and each page looks completely different. It's that kind of varied career and it can also be entrepreneurial. So the library field as well as the information field is really varied. And I pulled a quote out from this special issue of American Libraries that was devoted to talking about the change that we're seeing just in the LIS concentration. And I'll just read you that little quote. Today, our experienced professionals and new library workers must find their passion around people to build an educated, involved citizenry and ensure digital and economic opportunity for all. Library professionals are the essential elements of strong schools, colleges, universities, and public communities. And if the LIS part of this, the LIS concentration, is what you're about, what you're going to see is a new focus on communities and social justice. How many of you out of the MI people are interested in the LIS area? I'm only speaking to a couple of you. But what you're seeing in libraries across our country is a rededication to community and to ensuring equity and to make sure that people have voices and rights and that we are meeting community needs. You saw that in Ferguson, you saw that in Baltimore, you're seeing that all over the place. I won't go on and on, but I just want to emphasize that libraries are changing to meet new community needs. We also have a concentration in that we're calling TIM, Technology, Information, and Management. I think Dr. Pawlowski is going to give you a little bit more information on these. And our newest concentration is informatics and design. And I know Dr. Pawlowski is going to come up and tell you a little bit about that. And we surprised her with a new photograph.
Hi everyone, who's an ITI student? Okay, I miss you guys. You know, I used to teach in that program. I would, in a heartbeat, go back and teach that program. Social informatics. Anybody take that course? I didn't teach it this semester, but I know you have to take it. So I am not a librarian. I am an information professional whose career began on Wall Street a long, long time ago. Back in the days, you might have heard about them with paper filing cabinets, you know, and just sort of little index cards and no anything like this or anything like you see today. Wall Street and the stock market in general is much more dependent on information than it is practically on anything else. And we used to get our information on the floor of the exchange or at the bar, at the restaurant. There were a lot of martini lunches. You're always looking for information, or you're looking it up in the stock exchange quotes, or you're looking it up in the journals.
Yeah, paper, like you had to read it, you couldn't Google it, you couldn't search it, but there was stuff that you just needed to know. And it might be stuff that was just a quick answer, or it might be stuff that you just sort of have to put together in a report so you could develop your business. But it was information, and getting it was really hard. Organizing it was even worse. Retrieving it was practically impossible. Imagine retrieving without like a system, without a spreadsheet to sort things. Oh, we wanted to do some business with the guy, oh, you know the guy at Bristol Myers or the guy over at McKinsey or something. How do you get that from a filing cabinet that's linear? So the catalyst in our field, and it all started, by the way, with librarianship. This is sort of the root of the profession because librarians collect, organize, disseminate, make accessible and usable information. And librarians work in libraries, typically. I, as an information professional, was told by my all-knowing boss, saying, you gotta go get a Master of Business Administration, an MBA, because you need to learn databases, because all of a sudden databases became really cool in 1982, and nobody knew what they were, and I was like one of those amorphous people. I didn't have an MBA, I wasn't a guy, I could type really fast, but I had a college degree. I couldn't be a secretary because I didn't want to do that. And I didn't know what to do with me, so I like did the tech stuff. So, and back in those days, when you had a keyboard, like any kind of a keyboard, nobody wanted anything to do with it because secretaries used that, not the boys, they didn't use it. So there was this whole gender thing going on in our community that actually gave me a lot of access to things that I would not have understood had I not done this type of work. So fast forwarding, technology became the tail that wagged the dog of information world. And so when I went to the MBA school program, whatever, I took managerial accounting, I took finance, I took economics, which was really interesting, but none of it was relevant to searching databases, to retrieving information, to anything that I needed to do my job. There was no name for my job. They call it knowledge management now. They call it competitive intelligence now. Back then, there was no name, nothing. You just did it because your team is going to do business development, and you got to get this information down today, no matter what it takes. And that's what we do. We provide information in an accessible format. We analyze it. We make it usable for the people who need it, or we use it ourselves. But information is the core of what I've done. How do I fast forward this? There it is. So to our program. As I said before several times, the catalyst to this is technology, but we are not about technology. If you are one who loves to sit in the back room and code, you're in the wrong room. Because we stand between the people who do the computer stuff, the engineering stuff, and the people who need this stuff. We are the people in the middle, people, technology, and information. And the information professional is the intermediary in this scenario. This is a brand new program, but the idea is so old. And just as old as I am, I got my master's in library science in like 19-something, really long time ago, 87. And that was a long time ago. And I did my PhD, and this concept was always in the mix, but no one knew what to make of it. And here we are in 2015, and we finally figured it out. Part of our profession, so some of you, as I saw some hands go up, some of you want to go out there and provide information services to people in perhaps underserved communities. There's an opportunity for you in our program. Others of you might be really interested, there's that whole spectrum of now data, big data, little data, whatever data. It used to be information. When I was in school, we spent like 2 years trying to figure out what is information. No one still really knows, except information only has value in its use. And now, because of social media, like who would have known that this would, with the digital tools we have now for retrieval, who would have known we would be barraged? We thought information overload was bad in the 90s. Forget it. That's why data science came out. It's no more about information, it's about data. You have to pull that data out. You have to figure out what is information in that data. Everything isn't information, no matter what Google tells you. You have to figure out what is that information. You have to analyze it, and you have to use it, because then otherwise, what's the point? You're just doing an exercise for no reason. That's a data science kind of thing. And there's a technical side of data science. So if this is the sort of work you see yourself doing, that's great. Technology information and management is more for people like myself who built retrieval systems, who did knowledge management, who do competitive intelligence, because guess what? This stuff just doesn't come at you from business analytics. You have to read the stuff. You have to know what your sources are. You got to pull that data out, and you have to make it usable and retrievable for decision makers in your organization. That's the technology and information management area. Not only do you have to go out there and use that data, you have to sort of how to figure out how to make that data work in your organization. That's called knowledge management, once again. And there's the relationship between those two areas. And the third part, somebody's got to, or fourth part, somebody's got to design information retrieval systems. Somebody's got to design websites. But do you design this in a vacuum? No, you design it for a community. You design it within an organizational infrastructure. But you're actually technically working on the process of creating whatever it is that you're designing. Like, you could be a UXD person, you could be the developer for a new retrieval system. One or the other. There's still elements of design that are across the board relevant to all those areas. So all of these areas were inherent in our program, and we've been able to pull them out and build them up in a way that will enable you to come into this learning community. This is one big program that is essentially 4 different learning communities who work together. You have your specializations, but you'll also be able to interact with, so if you're a data science person, your chances are you'll be interacting with somebody from informatics and design. If you are in data science, anybody hear about digitization, I can't even say it, of information, right? This is the library merging with the data science stuff. So there's a lot of intersection between this, and I think our program really does a good job of pushing it together. And our ITI students probably know the hands-on stuff. You've been learning the very basic stuff of how to do things in organizations at the level of IT services. You learn skills, you learn customer service stuff, you learn a lot of things. But at some point, somebody's going to say you need a master's degree, and at that point, you decide which way you're going to go. And this is one way. It could be business, it could be communication, it could be MCIS, it could be, excuse me, it could be any of those for you. But at one point, you're going to need to move forward, and you're going to need that master's degree. That's the sad reality of what the world is like. Not that it's sad, more education is not a bad thing, but I think that there's no way that you can take the micro stuff that you learn in undergraduate program and try to teach people the more macro organizational stuff that we teach in a graduate program. Okay, sorry, over my time. Oh, there's no more slide. I don't think it. Okay.
But I do want to say, and I'll go over here, I just want to say that if you are not sure what concentration really is yours, you can be a generalist. You can get a general MI degree, and you don't need to worry about that. So, and we'll get your questions soon.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Please. I think it's important to note that we have, strangely enough, we have 2 MI directors, right? That's odd. Don't you guys think that might be a little odd? Well, I figured I'd give you a little bit of insight. Dr. Valenza was recently awarded a $500,000 grant to the Institute Museum and Library Services, I believe. When you get that sort of opportunity, you have to seize it. So she is stepping down as of December. And I just want to say thank you very much for everything that you've done for this program. It's been a pleasure. And I think this might be the last open house that you've done as director. So why don't we give Dr. B another round of applause. But luckily we have Dr. Kowalski here with us to take over, and I think she's uniquely qualified to do so because she served as our curriculum committee and basically the architect of the UMI program for the past couple of, I can't imagine, years at this point. So you're in great hands, and so we're excited about the transition, and we're obviously very sad to see Dr. B not with us, but still with us in terms of teaching and being part of the community. So that being said, let's move along. Now that you guys know about the community here at Rutgers, what Sky is, and the programs, let's talk about how you can become part of this community, and it's basically the application and admissions process. It is very similar to what you've all done as undergraduates, right? You have to apply online, submit your credentials, wait for a response. That's basically it. That's what this lovely graphic represents. It's probably more complex for me to put this together than it is for you to put together an actual application. It's very easy. But what are those credentials that you guys actually have to get together? Depends on which program. It's basically the same with the exception of one major thing. Let's go through them kind of one by one. First thing you have to submit is personal statement. Well, first it's really actually the application. You'll go through the application, you'll submit your personal statement, which is an essay. The essay questions contained within the application. The gist of it is, why are you interested in this field, or what do you want to do in the long term? That's the gist of it, I'm paraphrasing. You'll have to submit GRE scores. We'll talk about that in just a second. Your undergraduate transcripts. If you're part of the MCIS program or applying to the MCIS program, they require 3 letters of recommendation, preferably from someone in your academic background. So two recommendations from professors, maybe one from a boss, manager, supervisor, someone in your professional background. For the MI program, we prefer a nice mixture as well, but we do take both academic or rather professional recommendations for the program. Do we have any, we may have some international applicants online. If you are an international student, we also require the TOEFL or IELTS, which is basically a test of English language skills. And also for our international students' financial documentation. If you have questions about any of that, I'd be happy to talk to you after the presentation or offline completely. The GRE. So I know a few of you may be interested in knowing what exactly that is. Does anybody have an idea of what it is? Of course you do. Okay. If you know it, you probably fear it at this point. It's not something to be feared. It is something to just, it's a reality. It's something that needs to be prepared for, and once you're prepared for it, it's a piece of cake. Okay. It's basically a standardized test for graduate school. There are 3 sections. There's a writing section, there's a verbal section, and there's a quantitative section. Does that sound familiar to you guys? Sounds like the SAT, right? I mean, in a way, it is the SAT for graduate school. Okay. There are opportunities for waivers, so I'll kind of get that out of the way right now. The only way we waive for the Masters of Information program is if you have a master's degree already. How many of you in this room already have a master's degree? Lucky you, lucky you. So do I, maybe I'll apply for no reason. Just to get in. And for the MCAS program, if you have professional experience in the tune of, is it 10 years?
7.
7-ish? Okay. That's a conversation that you can have with Dr. Gibbs to see if waivers are available. All right, so let's move on. When should I apply? This is also a big question. I think we may have answered it a little bit already, but I'll kind of go through it. For the Master of Communication and Information Studies program, November 1st, though we're lucky because we're having this on November 12th, Dr. Gibbs has been generous enough to extend the deadline to December 1st. So if it's in your interest to get started this spring, it's still possible, but the clock is certainly ticking. And for the fall, July 1st at the very latest. For the MI program, we're looking at December 15th for the spring and August 1st for the fall. Now these are like the last drop deadlines that you can apply. I have rolling admissions up top for a reason. That's what I recommend, which basically means the sooner you submit everything, the sooner you get a decision back. The sooner you can apply for financial aid, register for classes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So it's all about getting your ducks in a row early so that you don't have any problems later on. Oh, okay. So now we're at probably one of the most important parts of this presentation, where I'm going to introduce my boss, Dean Kevin Newell. So when his section is over, you guys really need to give him a loud round of applause. Okay? And you guys think you can handle that? I know you guys can. All right. So, Dean Kevin Newell, please come on up. He's going to give you a little more insight as to what resources are available to you as a student. This is just okay. When he's done,
he always sets me up and gives me a hard act to follow. So, first of all, again, my name is Kevin Newell. And I'm hitting the cue to back up a little bit. Welcome to all of you who came out this evening. Welcome to the folks who are online. As I said, I'm Kevin Ewell, the Assistant Dean, and more importantly, the Director of Student Services. And what I want to talk to you about for the next few moments is what is it when we mention student services? What are we talking about? Now, we are fortunate that some of you folks here tonight are actually current students. So you actually know what we do in the Office of Student Services. But for the folks who are visiting for the first time, do know that our Office of Student Services is sort of our centralized center for supporting students across the life cycle, from the application through graduation, as well as even alumni services and support. We have 4 primary functions within our, All right, so we have 4 primary functions within our Student Services Office. And one of those is essentially sort of the academic administration of assisting students with their application, having events such as the one that we have, where you have a chance to talk more and learn more about the academic programs at the graduate level. We guide you through the application process. We converse with you and graduate admissions to make sure that your application is seamless. For those who are fortunate enough to be admitted and make that wonderful decision to enroll, we work with you to make sure that your enrollment and registration is seamless, that you're doing well in your classes. Again, all the things that you can associate from your undergrad experience as it related to your application and enrollment in your program. More importantly, and the part that we're most excited about when it comes to your academic administration or academic administration of your records is the certification. And essentially, that's the culmination of your degree. That's the culmination of your achievements. That's what we're proudest to do. It's the part that's the most laborious, but it's the part that we celebrate. And that's when we actually reviewing your records and certifying that you've actually done the courses, satisfied those experiences that qualify for your Rutgers degree from the School of Communication Information. So again, we're really excited about that part. In addition to the sort of academic support administration, we actually take another part very seriously. We have another function, and that's student support and referral. All right, and what that is, and again, for some of you who are Rutgers students, you may be familiar with that concept. What that is we realize that you're students, but you're also people with different demands on your time, different obligations, and different responsibilities. Some of you work full-time, some of you work part-time. Again, we actually saw the profile of our students. Many do have jobs outside of their academics. And as grad students, some folks are parents, all right? Some folks are caregivers, and so there are a lot of things that may be pull factors in different directions away from your studies, or may interfere or impact your ability to be fully devoted to your academics, all right? And so we want to work with you to make sure that you have all of those resources that at your disposal to be a successful student. We also know that students have other things that may create challenges for their success. Maybe you're living with a disability, whether it's a mobility disability, or visual impairment, or a hearing impairment. Some challenge that makes learning in the traditional format a bit more of a challenge. And so we work closely with other offices and agencies within the university to make sure you have access to those support services as well, such as the Office of Disability Services, the Office of Psychiatric and Psychological Services. All right, so again, a host of other resources that are central to our university that you have as Rutgers students to make sure that, again, you get that support that you might need to be successful in and out of the classroom. So again, academic assistance, student support, and referral. Another very important part, very important function of what we do is we keep in mind that our students are here for a short period of time, but they're outside of our school for a longer period of time. And we want to make sure that when you leave this place with that distinctive Rutgers degree, that you're positioned in a wonderful job market or wonderful opportunity for graduate school. So we're already thinking about your years beyond. So we put a lot of investment in supporting and assisting you in terms of internships, as well as careers, as well as in some cases doctoral preparation. Again, we talked about that. Again, many of our students going on to doctoral work from their master's programs. And so we actually have within our office a staff person who works closely with our students as well as with our faculty to make sure that when we're talking about curriculum, we're talking about careers. This person works with our students to make sure that there are workshops available, workshops about how to create a resume, or how to create a curriculum vitae, or how to have that sort of elevator speech. All right? So a host of resources, a host of career resources that may be helpful in you getting that internship, getting that field experience, getting that job. All right? Again, really critical skills that may be some more cognitive, others less cognitive, but important social and interpersonal skills that are going to be helpful for you to get that job, or for those folks who are already working to maybe get additional skill sets that may give you some more mobility in your current job. And another, final or important function within the Office of Student Services is that of really trying to be a place where our students can feel engaged. All right, so we again, when Jay was talking, he talked about that word community. And we are a vibrant community, an inclusive, diverse, rich community. And that community doesn't grow by itself. It grows because of the investment that our students make in each other, but it also gets sustained because of the support and resources that we do within the Office of Student Services and working with our student organizations and our student leaders. We provide support not just in terms of sort of championing their efforts and giving them guidance on their professional development, but also we actually give some funding to those student organizations. And again, many of those student leaders you'll hear from tonight, we give them funding so that they can have events for their student populations, so that they can invite speakers from the field to come in and talk about the discipline, careers and trends within the field. So again, it's just an overview of kind of the primary functions that we make available through the Office of Student Services. And again, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that the types of services and support that we extend to our students on campus is modeled as well for those students who are online. So again, we make sure that as we're thinking about academic support, as we're thinking about student support, as we're thinking about careers and internships, as well as that sense of community engagement, we're thinking of our inclusive community of our on-campus students as well as our online students. So again, we really, we work hard to make sure that our students have the best leverage, the best support, best access to the resources so that they can be successful and then that they can get the most meaningful, rewarding experience while they're here in graduate programs to take them to that next point in their lives. So again, that's an overview of the Office of Student Services. Let's just make sure I have the slide.
Yeah.
So, turn this back over to Jay. Thank you.
Amazing, right? So amazing. All right. I think Daniel did actually a great job talking about our student community. At this point, I am going to invite up our current students to come up, give us a little bit more information about who they are, why they chose Rutgers, and why they chose the program that they chose. So, my students, please come on up. Yes. All of you. Yes, let's give them a round of applause. All right, so I'm just going to ask you next. Please introduce yourself. Tell the audience exactly what program you're in and why you chose that field, and ultimately what you do. And we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Dana. I'm in the Master's of Library and Information Science program, or it's now the MI program. When I started, it was the MIS. I'm specializing in knowledge management, so I'm really interested in how organizations track their information and keep everything accessible and understandable. So I'm about halfway through my program. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with it yet, but I started the program because I was just really interested in learning more about information.
My name is Lisa Bell. I'm in my last semester of the NCIS program. So I actually graduated from Rutgers in 2013 with a double major major in communication and American studies, tried the real world for 6 months, found out I didn't want to do the real world, so I applied, and one of the things I really liked about the Rutgers Master Program was it was not only a really great program, but I really liked the fact that it had spring admissions. Those of you looking at Master's Program probably have noticed that most people only have fall entry. Rutgers is probably one of the few schools I've found that actually does spring entry, which is really great, which means I didn't have to, lose another 6 to 8 months again. I could go back to school. So I actually started on the digital media track, and then I kind of figured out I wanted to apply to PhD programs, and that's what Professor Gibbs said. You should apply to the research associate track. So now I'm on the research associate track, so I've done teaching internships, and I'm doing my research internship, my master's thesis. I've done the summer study abroad program, and I've also IA'd for other classes. I've done a lot actually, but I really like the program a lot. It's a really fun program. You learn a lot out of it, but yeah, I definitely want to go get my PhD. I tend to be more centered towards like digital media and new media studies. My master's thesis right now is online self-presentation through the lens of Vine, so that's going to be real fun. But yeah, that's why I came to Rutgers.
I'm Simon. I'm in the Master's in Communication and Information Studies program on the digital media track. The reason I chose to attend Rutgers for my graduate degree, I also graduated previously from Rutgers in 2014, and was working on a project called NBA Spark, which was a social justice journalism lab at the university. We have a variety of students who were part of this program, part of this lab. And I was sort of TA, I guess you could say, for it. And Todd Wolfson, the professor, recommended that I enroll at Rutgers to pursue my master's, and I did. And I mean, it's certainly been, it's my first semester, but it's for someone asked about journalism in a master's program, there's certainly a lot of technical skills and hard skills courses that are available within the school. So this is something for someone who has no experience, whereas I sort of have experience in journalism. So for someone who wants like a crash course, it's certainly there's availabilities for that. And what I want to do, I want to be happy and make positive change in the world, and I'll find whatever career path to do that.
My name is Kat. I am in the dual degree program, and this is my first semester taking master's courses. So far, I really like it. It's definitely challenging, but I do want to speak on one thing, which is the GREs. So when I first came here, I started last fall, so a year ago, and I started looking into the dual degree program. I knew that it was the direction I wanted to head in, and so in the fall semester, I heard about and then applied for a GRE preparation course, which was offered here at Rutgers. So if you know that you might want to go into the dual degree program or in the future go into the master's program, whether it be in communication or in any other field, I got 3 credits for it and was able to take it like any other course. So it went towards my degree, and it was really helpful. And then I was able to take the GREs, and obviously here I stand today. I also am interested in the research associate track. I'm not positive at this point in time if that's what I want to do. I'm still trying to figure it out. But ultimately, I know what I want to do, which is to help impoverished and marginalized communities. And I also don't know how exactly that could happen, but I think that the director in transition, the one who was leaving, I do apologize, I didn't forget your name. I'm sorry? Dr. Valenza. So Dr. Valenza had raised a really important point, and she brought out all of these papers of how many different job titles there are in this one field. And I think that as long as you're following your passion and you know you want to learn something, the more you learn about it, the doors will open up to you, and it'll just come. Just kind of be hopeful and learn as much as possible and work hard, and then it will be.
Thank you very much.
I can definitely speak to that. I am a full-time professional. I've been working at Princeton University in kind of an administrative assistant capacity, and I've been taking these classes. My department just got this new database, and they said, oh, we need like an information person to do our database work. And they're like, you're in school for that, right? New job, you're now our database girl. So it was kind of like I had this plan that I was going to work, through my degree, and then degree, I would find a job that matched, and it happened to me. You know, I started.
So now you don't even have to finish the master's. That's the shortcut. That's the shortcut.
I think I really want my robe with the funny sleeves,
Right.
so I'll stick it out.
That's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to open it up to you now. At this point, I think we're right at, we have a few more slides after this, but if you have questions about the student experience, about how it is in the classroom, now's your opportunity. Just like we said before, you don't think of anything now, our students are still going to be in the room towards the end, so you can certainly ask them at that point. Does anyone have any questions for our students? We do have a gentleman over here.
How is the difficulty of courses in the workload compared to the normal undergraduate classes?
Okay, so I'm going to repeat the question for our online students. The question was, and correct me if I'm wrong, the question was, what's the course load or the workload like in comparison to undergraduate courses?
Yes, and the difficulty.
And the difficulty.
I think I can attest to that, being here for 2 years now. So when I first did it, don't get me wrong, it was a shock. So I've only actually ever taken 2 courses in person. All my other courses I have taken have been online. So for me, that was a shock to my system because the only time I'd ever taken anything online was a hybrid, which is half online, half in person. So you know, my first semester in spring 2014, I have 3 online classes. It's my first semester of grad school. I was overwhelmed. I'm fortunate enough that I have financial support from my parents, so I didn't have a job in my first semester, so I could just concentrate on school. But once you kind of get used to it a little bit, just in terms of, there is a lot more reading because they do expect you to read at a higher level than you do at undergraduate. With online classes, because it's an online, the way you discuss is through posts and responding to other students' posts. But once you kind of get over the shock of the amount of reading you have to do, there are lectures you have to watch for a lot of classes. Not all classes have online lectures, but some professors do have online lectures to kind of help enforce what you're reading and kind of help explain it since you don't get that in-class experience where the professor can kind of go over the reading with you and get feedback. So for me, it was an initial shock, but then I kind of, once you get used to it, it's very normal. Like kind of when you go, we use e-college, so when you kind of go on and you see you have like 6 readings for 1 week, you're like, oh, that's nothing. Because a lot of the times they're like little articles. A lot of the times I know some professors that I have, they mix academic with, you know, newspaper articles or different things like that. So there's a mix of academia and, you know, more professional readings. So you kind of get a little bit of both. We read a lot of, you know, for Professor Gibbs' class, we read a lot of Harvard Business Review, case studies. We did a lot of activities within that. So personally, that's kind of the difference between undergrad and grad. It's just it's more intense. And for me, it was a shock, but you do get used to it, and it does become kind of normal for you.
As I said, I'm in my first semester. However, the reading was definitely a shock for me, and it wasn't all the time. It's not like every week you have tons of reading packed on, but it could also depend on your professor. But I had one class and we had to read a book, literally a book in 4 days, so it was 174 pages, and I was like, oh my god, why do I need to do this? It's insane, how am I going to read all of it? But I got it done and all is well. Now it's in the past. But at the same time, there are other things that are really great. Usually there's not any testing, or there's less testing than you would have in an undergrad class. Again, I'm in the beginning, so I don't know how it will be in all of my classes, but I think that the way that the professors are grading you is on what you're personally taking out of it. Obviously, knowing that you did the work, but you're being graded in a different way, and I really like the way that I'm graded now, because I don't do really great on tests. I'm not a fantastic test taker. It makes me nervous. I'm a wonderful studier, I guess. I enjoy learning, but test isn't the thing. So if you don't like test taking, the master's program is surely for you.
It definitely varies from class to class in any program, and the most important thing you can do as a strategic way to pick your classes is to talk to students.
And one thing that Jay has done for our community, the big C word, is started the peer student network. So you can look at the website, and there are students registered who have basically said, come talk to me.
someone studying something that's similar to what you want to study, just reach out to them and say, what classes did we take in? What was good? What was hard? Because it varies from class to class. The best thing to do is know what you're getting into when you register for each class.
I just want to say, the classes I'm registered for this semester are also all online, but it really takes a self-starter to take an online course. If you're one of those people that really excels in interpersonal communication and you feel like you've kind of learned a lot of the stuff that you've learned through osmosis as opposed to just sitting down and doing the readings, maybe think about taking an online class or really think about how to stay motivated throughout. And the trick to actually those big readings is usually, like what I'll do is I'll read the intro and the conclusion. And if there's a lot of stuff that's really, really different, I'll go back through the text to see what I missed. But it tends to cover the topics, especially if you're kind of generally paying attention in class and maybe know the subject matter.
And also talk to your professors. I mean, the one real big thing that I got out of it, when I initially got in, and Professor Gibbs probably has the emails to attest to it, I think I emailed her for the entire month of December, just peppering her with questions. And she was so patient with me. I must have drove her on the wall for the entire month until January hit. She's not a pen no, but I think it's a yes. But no, the professors are really great because the thing is you're in grad school now. So one, they expect you to be adults, and two, they treat you like you're adults. So, they do respond to you in a timely manner. They will talk to you. They will help you out. They will explain things. All professors are really great with email exchange or using the chat functions and the online programs that we have to use. So definitely reach out to other professors. Definitely reach out to other students. It can be a little bizarre when you only know people by their name, and when you actually meet them, they're like, we've had class for an entire year and I've never seen their face. It happens. Don't get me wrong. But you can also reach out to students that way. If you do get into the program, we have an orientation. Two of the girls who were in my orientation class, we just happened to sit next to each other. We were became Facebook friends. We ended up having 3 classes together. So every time a group project popped up, we just always did it together because we knew each other. So are you doing the MCIS program? Interested or? Okay, well maybe the MI program too, but it is a community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd say my greatest experience of connecting with other students in the MI program is Rutgers email is on Gmail, so Hangouts is built right in, and my friends in my classes, we are pinging each other all the time. Did you get that? Or, what's your opinion on that? We communicate a lot.
I think we have one more question.
It's like a good one.
Yeah, we can give you a very thorough answer.
Yeah.
Let's take you guys over to the hands.
I don't know. Anything about corporate communications classes maybe?
I took the international, the study abroad program at Roxton. So I took that course. I loved it personally, but obviously that was abroad, and it's actually with a professor at Fairleigh Dickinson, whose wife, it's actually Professor Radford. She runs the PhD program here. She's up. But it's a great program. I really enjoyed the corporate communication course. You learn a lot. They bring in so many people to talk to from so many different fields. You get people from PR, you get people from health organizations, strategic organizational comm. You get people from so many different walks of life that come in and just talk to you about what's going on in corporate communication. And then Professor Radford, who teaches the course, he kind of actually goes through the reads with you to kind of bridge between the two of corporate communication in corporate America, the world in general, and then also academia, what you're learning about corporate communication. So there is that bridge between the two. I didn't take a lot of corporate communication at Rutgers because I'm researching digital media.
Thank you guys so much. We have a limited amount of time left, so I'm going to speed through this stuff anyway because this is the non-fun stuff. Let's get to it. Let's talk about tuition and fees. We have 3 columns here, as you can see. For those of you who are in state and looking to take classes on campus, the far left column is the appropriate one for you. I'm like, no, it's definitely the far left one. It's that you're telling me to go there. So that's the entire program. That's the cost of the entire program. That's an estimate, and that includes a 3.5% increase in tuition, even though that hasn't been decided. It won't be until July of 2016. So that's kind of it. If If you're not a New Jersey resident and you're looking to do this program on campus, move here. Obviously, that's the things that people do. We have a very diverse group of students from all around the country. And the middle column is more appropriate for you. And if you're interested in a fully online program, 100% online, part of our managed program, then the far right column is for you. Okay. I'm going to make all these slides available for you so that you have them at your disposal. All right. Like I said, this is the non-fun stuff, so I move through it quickly. Okay, next. Tuition assistance, right? This is what you want to hear after you see those numbers. We, just like undergraduate work, you can earn financial aid through the graduate program. And in order to be eligible for financial aid, you basically need to have a program that's eligible, and both of our programs are. You need to be enrolled in a minimum of what's called half-time, which at Rutgers is basically 6 credits. Okay, so if you're registered as a part-time student, 6 credits, and in one of our programs, you're eligible for financial aid. Now, the difference in financial aid between graduate and undergraduate is that at the undergraduate level, you may be eligible for one of the things called grants. Right? Grants you don't have to pay back. At the grad level, there are very few grants available, almost non-existent, so most of your opportunities will be in the form of loans, low-interest federal loans, or scholarship opportunities, or campus work opportunities. All right, that kind of brings me to my next point. So we do offer scholarships through the School of Communication and Information. They aren't limited, but about 1 in 12 of our graduate students earns a scholarship of some sort. Many more of them receive funding in many different ways. Okay, so there are teaching assistantship opportunities. You can get an internship that might be paid. Lots of different opportunities for you. The really great thing about the School of Communication and Information, if you haven't already figured this out already, is that there's so much opportunity. There's opportunity in the classroom, there's opportunity within the community, there's opportunity with regard to career outcomes. Okay, so when it comes to scholarship opportunities, they exist. You just have to keep your ear to the ground. And when they come through, you get on them. All right, so who's ready to apply? No pressure. I like this slide. I think this slide is really funny. This is more for me, and then we'll finish up. It's really easy. All you have to do is prepare for your application, log into your application, right? Start that application, and then complete the application. Right? It's easy. And you guys can do all that stuff at gradstudy.rutgers.edu. All right, that's where the application is. This is the point we've reached in the night, question and answer. So at this point, we've covered who we are, School of Communication and Information, what we do in terms of our master's degree programs, the Master of Communication and Information Studies and the Master of Information, our wonderful student groups and student community, some of the resources that are available to you on campus, how much it costs, and how you can afford it. Any questions about anything? Oh, goodness gracious. Gentlemen in the back, your hand shot up first.
For letters of recommendation, do you have any forms that we have to hand out to former teachers?
Great question. I'm going to repeat every question for our online students. The question was, do we have forms for our letters of recommendation? That answer is kind of twofold in a sense. We do have forms for traditional letters. Do you have questions? Okay. We do have forms for traditional letters. That being said, if you do the application online, which you have to do online, I don't even know if it's a paper application anymore. When you do the application online, you submit your recommender's name and email address, and we handle the rest. We send them an invitation to do a recommendation for you directly to the email that you gave us for your recommender. So handled completely electronically. So if you want to have traditional letters, we have forms for that. If you want to do it online, quick and easy, you can do that as well.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
I saw from, I think it's NCIS program, that there was a J&J fellowship. Does the MI program have something that may be equivalent?
No. That's a pretty unique program. There are lots of opportunities through the MI program. So just because we don't have a fellowship doesn't mean that there's not a lot of opportunities elsewhere. Yes, Lisa, that. 2 tiny questions.
So one person wants to know if there's a TA for the informatics and design concentration, and another person wants to know if there is if there's teaching assistantship or other funding opportunities, alternatives available to online students.
No, unfortunately, not exactly like that, but there are opportunities So we always pump out all the opportunities to everyone. So really, once again, it's all about keeping your ear to the ground and saying, yeah, please.
Most of our online students are in the area, so they're welcome to do teaching assistantships, teaching internships, but they're usually in the classroom. So, and we do have students who are online who are living in other parts of the country, and they arrange internships wherever they are. I think it's a little tougher to do a teaching internship unless you can arrange that with a local university or something.
Forward concentration for the MI.
That's a great question. ETA for informatics and design, fall 17?
No, coming fall.
Fall 16? Great. I'm sorry, we have the lady in the corner.
Okay, so this is a little weird, but I am a Rutgers student, and I'm
It's not that weird.
Probably not. I am planning on doing a 5-year master's program before I would apply for this program. And the program I'm planning on doing has electives. So I've already checked, I can take any master's level courses for. So would it be possible to get courses and have the credits transferred to this degree as well?
It depends, and I think that's a conversation that needs to be had in an individual program.
Okay.
Is it possible? Yes, but it depends.
Well, you can transfer 6 credits.
Yeah, you can transfer in 6 credits.
Okay.
Yes.
So they want to know about what programs are available solely online for NCIS and MI, and then also said how long would it take to, what's the time limit for the NCIS program?
I can handle it. Right now, the track that's available for our MCIS program that's completely online is the digital media track. The timeline, it really depends on how quickly you're taking your courses. So if you're taking your courses at a 6 credit per term pace, then it's probably going to take you about 2 years. If you take it any slower than that, it can take somewhere in the ballpark of 2 to 3 years.
And the max is 3 years, right?
The max
Max is 4.
is 4 for MCAS and 3 for MI.
And the MI programs, are they exclusively online?
Every single concentration will be available online. Fantastic. Yes, this gentleman right here.
Yes, I see one of the requirements was just a formal transcript, so I'm guessing our GPA would be a factor in the application process.
Absolutely.
I previously did not perform very well in another major that I then switched to.
Okay.
So what will you consider with your gross GPA or major specific
I
GPA?
mean, we're looking at everything holistically. So we're going to look at your transcripts and see the individual courses and what sort of path you have. And that's really why we're also looking at whether the recommendation and your personal statement. So some of that can be explained in your personal statement, but it's a holistic process. So we're going to look at everything. If you have individual concerns, I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards. Yes.
I have 2 questions actually. One of the professors looking at this, I believe the only experience to get a degree, a master's degree in data science. I was wondering, is that starting small or 2017?
So the question was, is there going to be a track where you can earn your data science specialization concentration for the MI program in 1 year?
I don't see how that's possible. I mean, it's 36 credits. I can find a year. It's nuts. It's just, I would say, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, just because you're really going to be teaching learning. You're going to be taking too many courses in 1 semester. You're not really going to absorb everything fully. And the course is not very different than I was taking it, but
It's very, very rare that 2 semesters. I could say 2 semesters in the summer. Best would be 3 semesters in the summer. And are you thinking about a dual degree?
Yeah, that's
Oh wait, are you ITI?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you could.
Oh.
Because you get 12 credits that you can transfer. You're going to be working on graduate credits in your undergraduate program that will be transferred into your MI. But that's a very different, the 4+1 dual degree is not open yet, and when it is, that will let you guys know, and it's instruction, but that,
And if I can interject, again, I know a number of the ITI students here are, really interested in the that 5-year BA MI program. Again, you've probably seen the emails from Dr. Storger, the undergrad ITI director. That program is still under development, and as it further develops, we'll continue to announce those developments. For the time being, again, it is sort of being modeled, quite honestly, after the BA MCIS program. So we are going to try to, and I don't want to misspeak, but I understand it's being modeled in some respects so that it can be sort of 4+1. But what exactly that looks like, again, is still under development. We'll keep those students informed of those changes.
We just need to go through the hierarchy. Now, the curriculum is done, and it's a very different curriculum from the straight MI curriculum. So when we can release it, will probably be early January, February. It will be competitive. So we will only fill 20 seats the first year. You should hear from us January, February, March, around there. And then if you're interested, we'll throw out all the information. There's a lot of experiential and capstone stuff that's being built as we speak, so you'll learn more about it from Dr. Storger and others.
All right, so at this point, are there any other questions? Well, this is what I recommend. I want to be sensitive to everyone's schedule. I think we did say that this was run until about 8 o'clock. So those of us who can stick around on the administrative and faculty side and student side, please do so. I will certainly be here. If you have questions you can ask me individually, I'd be happy to answer it for you. Before you go, a little bit more housekeeping. There is food. Please eat it. Folders. You guys have them. They have my business card in them. If you don't want to ask me a question tonight, or maybe you don't remember it until tomorrow, I'd be happy to answer your question tomorrow. Third, thank you. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy lives to be here. Thank you for navigating Livingston to be here. Thank you for taking the LS for those of you who came from College Ave. And finally, I show those slides of me kind of around the world for a reason, right? And that's because I chose this place. I chose this place to be home, to be part of this community. And ultimately, hopefully after tonight, you've learned all about the wonderful things that happen here at Rutgers and certainly at the School of Communication and Information. And hopefully you guys will find this place is home for you as well. So thank you all.